Hello.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's
Good, good.
been a bit of a roller coaster with everything going on, but
Yeah, I can imagine.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
So,
you.
um, so as a fashion designer, an emerging fashion designer, I wanted to ask you what your goals are and how you want to make like an influence in the industry moving forwards.
Well, I'm a bit of a crossroads at the moment because I'm trying to figure out what my next move is going to be. Whether or not I want to actually have my own label and fully sort of go ahead with being a designer under my own name. I'm not sure if I actually will necessarily do that. But at the moment, going forward, I just kind of want to just keep creating, especially in what's going on right now. I'm in no rush at the moment to get a proper job or anything. I say proper job, like my parents sort of are badgering me for doing. But yeah, I just kind of want to just every day just get up, not lie in all day, just continue making things that I feel are authentically me, whether or not they're little, like I've been making masks this week and little dresses to try and sell, but just kind of using loads of scraps. I've got so much fabric, and I just want to carry on sort of churning things out really, whether or not to sell or just for me or just to kind of get better at what I'm doing.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's kind of all up in the air at the moment. I'm just going to try and keep experimenting and just go with the flow. Um, because I don't know if I want to maybe look for an internship, or I don't know. I feel like I'm a bit scared to sort of go into the wide world as just me on my own. I think I might need like a team or
yeah.
someone else for a bit before I jump straight in. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
definitely. I mean, I can imagine that it's a process that will take time, especially kind of like starting your own brand and everything. But it's really good. I mean, like I can see what you've done so far on your own for university and yourself, even like using quarantine as a time to like create. I saw you make jewelry as well out of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
flowers, which is amazing, super cool.
Thank
And yeah, definitely I think you're in the right step towards it. um but and even like on that conversation that you're using kind of the resources that are around you, like you said, you have like spare fabric from, I'm guessing, your collections. Is
you.
that something that you're sort of considering in like the sustainable side of it? Are you trying to put that towards your brand?
For sure. And I mean, I was lucky enough to get loads of fabrics from where I interned. They were just throwing out, or not throwing out, they were taking it to unis in London, and I sort of got in there beforehand and got to sort of pick a few rolls of fabrics, which was amazing. And they're really amazing, high quality fabrics. So, and some of it I didn't even use for my collection. So, I'm kind of trying to almost design from the fabric rather than I want to make a dress, what fabric works. I might just look at this nice silk or chiffon and kind of create from there, which
Yeah,
is kind of a weird way to go about it. But sustainability is definitely something that I'm going to try and do my best to not leave a negative mark, that's for sure. And my mum especially has been letting all her friends know that I'm making things. So every few days I seem to get a bag on my doorstep full of old clothes and fabrics that they don't want. So that's nice that I can try and make something out of people's old rubbish, really.
that's really cool. And I mean, I think it touches like on the points of like, I know that a few artists, even myself, like I've tried to do that, like kind of working backwards. So not having like the vision of the illustration of the garment that you want to do and just kind of using the fabric, like you said, and then work from that. Um, and
For
even
sure.
like now that you mentioned that you're getting like old clothes to then make something new out of that, kind of touches on like circular economy. Is that something that you agree with? Because I know that there's the conversation that a lot of people are a bit like icky about using word like clothes that have been worn. Um,
Mm.
and
Oh, no. I'm not like that.
That's good.
I, I'm all for it. I mean, I think there's so much waste. I mean, the fashion industry is just awful for the environment. It's the second um, biggest pollutant. So I think I don't see how you can't be aware of it. And I'm definitely trying to do as much as I can in that respect. I have no issues with using old clothes. I mean, half my wardrobe is from charity shops anyway. Um, so I definitely want to kind of encourage as many people as possible to sort of open their eyes a little bit to maybe wearing something that is a bit more unique and might have been reworked by someone, or might be an old piece that they might initially see and think, oh, that's a bit out there or grandma-y. But once you sort of pair it with the right accessories or tailor it to fit you, it's, in my opinion, way more interesting than something you can just get at Primark or Zara. I mean, I think fast fashion is got to sort of come to an end at some
Yeah,
point.
definitely.
Why not start now?
Yeah, definitely. Um, wow, yeah. So it's a very big statement. I mean, I think. Do you think that when you chose to go into like the fashion career, you considered all these things, knowing that possibly like even like through your studies? I mean, I did fashion design for a while, and for like 2 years, and I found myself like having to do so many prototypes of like so many different garments and trials here and there, and so much of that fabric I didn't actually use, and it creates so much like waste, I would say. Did you go into the headspace of starting as a fashion designer with thinking that you might be being a contributor to that, or that you like necessarily want to break that?
Yeah, I mean, I was naive when I went into it. I didn't really know so much about sustainability. I sort of learnt it on my course through lots of lectures and things, but also placement year. I mean, just the fabrics that big brands. Not I'm not going to name any, but um, I worked for a couple big brands, and sometimes the things that we had to cut up, and old toiles that, yeah, I guess they can't risk you know an unfinished toile getting out there or someone stealing the design or whatever. But the amount of times that interns had to cut up like gorgeous dresses and jackets and things, and kind of just keep the zips and things, which I guess is something. But luckily, we got as interns got to keep anything that wasn't like a bespoke print or something. We could keep, but it was heartbreaking, tearing apart all these gorgeous clothes that I would have loved to have kept. But I didn't really know much about it beforehand, and yeah, I think definitely in my final year, I've really tried to keep any scraps from toiles, and a lot of the toiles that I've made have kind of been made into other garments later on.
Yeah.
Not everything, obviously, that's kind of impossible, but um, I've had lots of photographers on my Instagram asking me for old toiles and for shoots and things, and I have to say, sorry, like it's been cut up. I've used it for something else. It doesn't exist anymore. But I think it's important to do that because you can't be throwing away, you know, nice usable fabrics.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's the most important thing, and like one thing that I've like admired a lot, even through friends of mine that are also pursuing a fashion design career, is that maybe the traditional way of being taught at university hasn't changed so much as like to teaching us about it like the very beginning, and like the way that they teach us about sustainability and like not wasting material. But at least you and certain other people are trying to implement that, whether it's like in their final collection or moving forwards into their career. So I think that's the most important thing of having this knowledge about it and then doing something in the future with what you know.
For
um,
sure, for sure. I mean, if ever I buy a dress and I need to take it up or anything, the bits that I chop off, I then will turn into like a scrunchie, or try and use sometimes I come downstairs and my parents are like, why have you got that wrapped around your head or whatever? But yeah, you've just got to be aware, I guess. And like our uni has definitely got better. I mean, in the last couple of years, I think they've gone paperless, so they aren't printing, all the nonsense bits of paper that no one even reads anyway. I can't remember like old lecture notes and health and safety. It's all online, so that's good. But there's still a long way to go, definitely.
Yeah, that's very good. And on your, I'm going to try and pronounce this correctly, Defanios Days, is that how you pronounce your collection's name?
Well, I pronounce it diaphanous days.
Diaphanous. There we go. That's the right way to say it. What was the inspiration behind this? Did you apply anything about like sustainability with it?
Well, the whole concept kind of derived from I was in Canada for 5 weeks last year,
Yeah.
um, and just stumbled upon this sculptor called Nicole Dextrous, who traps loads of garments in ice, and makes these huge sculptures hanging from trees of these gorgeous dresses, hangs lights underneath them, and kind of installation in Canada in the middle of winter in the mountains. So I kind of saw that and instantly knew that it was very me. Not that I do sculpture at all, but I was just it caught my eye, and um, I kind of went on another trip to France in the mountains and was taking so many pictures, and I realized there was a bit of a pattern with me in cold places taking photos of like patterns from above on
Yeah.
like ski hills or so I kind of knew that I wanted to go ahead with something nature inspired, um, but also pattern related, in the environment. So that was kind of the starting point. And the word diaphanous, I didn't even know the word a year ago, but my tutor just kept saying it when she was going through my folder. She kept saying, "Oh, it's so diaphanous," and I eventually had to look up what the word meant because I had to pretend I knew. And then when I actually just picked the name right at the end, and yeah, it seemed to fit. So that's kind of how I went about it. But yeah, I definitely, because I didn't have such a big budget for my collection as well, I knew that sustainability was going to be was going to be sort of important, because I didn't have the funds to go to these fabric shops in London and buy rolls and rolls of gorgeous fabrics. So I knew that I was going to have to be resourceful and sort of use what I have at home or what family friends might have. So I did lots of Facebook posts about people giving me old lace and things. So I knew that it was going to be, from an economic point of view, important, but also I wanted to make sure that, I wasn't preaching something that I wasn't doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
it was always going to be in the forefront of my mind, especially at uni. A lot of my friends and a lot of my course mates, we're all very um, on it with knowing and talking about it and having discussions. So I kind of wanted to make sure that I wasn't being a hypocrite.
Yeah, definitely. Makes sense. And so again, that's like a repetitive theme, kind of like you like to work backwards with it. Like you started your collection and then at the very end you chose like the name of your collection, which is really interesting. And even
Yeah,
when I looked up the works, I actually didn't know what it meant.
yeah.
Like it came up as like light, delicate, and translucent as some of like the meanings. Do you think that it actually, like what your tutor saw in your designs, did it actually come up to like what you actually created? Did it
Yeah, I
translate
think
it?
so. I think so. I was looking a lot at using plastics and things, which didn't actually end up making any of the final pieces. But this idea of layering different thin layers of plastic over different fabrics to create kind of a translucent sort of feel, and
Yeah.
also when you shine light through, a bit like the ice sculptures, certain sort of shapes will come through differently with when you
Yeah.
shine a light through. But no, I definitely kind of work not back, yeah, backwards in a way. I I applaud people that can draw a dress and then make it. I'm not that kind of I'm not that kind of designer. I definitely experiment with the weaving and working on the stand with no preconceived ideas of how it's going to look, and then it kind of evolves itself. It's quite organic, completely different to some of my friends, but it works. It works for me because otherwise, I think I'm restricting myself right at the beginning if I design a dress. I mean, I haven't got the brain to design a crazy dress just by drawing it. I need to sort of actually
Touch it.
touch it and pin it on a mannequin and really experiment. I mean, I made a dress out of bin liners,
Hmm.
and that was just for a little uni Halloween project. And I remember like 2 days before, I was saying to my housemates, like, I really can't be bothered to do this. Why are they getting us to do this? It's such a waste of time. We could be doing our collection and we're having to make an outfit out of bin bags because everyone had to.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh, I might as well just try and weave with it, make it a bit unique or interesting. And my machine actually like got stuck as I was sewing it, and it created like this ruched effect on the weave, which I wasn't even expecting. But I actually loved it, and it worked out so well. And I had to then replicate it on the other side, so it kind of looks like it was meant to be
Yeah.
all gathered.
Planned.
But that's just a pure example of, you know, a task that I was really not interested in. And then that dress was the toile and then became one of my looks. So it's kind of funny how people work in different ways, but I definitely sort of do work backwards in that way.
That's very cool and very creative. I think definitely for me as well, it's always been a thing of I might start with a drawing, but end up with mostly a completely different thing at the end of like creating the actual dress or design. So that's
Yeah.
really cool. And I guess like it seems that you're also like very like resourceful, kind of like you don't hit a wall, nothing stops you, you always figure it out, which is what we saw when you were I think you were telling me you did your collection with a drone, like you filmed yourself.
Yeah. So
Cool.
well, initially I was just thinking because of lockdown, we couldn't really have access to studios and photographers and all of which normally final years get to do, and they get to shoot a lookbook
Yeah.
in Brighton of their collection. So I was thinking, like, what do I have? Luckily, I fit in my clothes. And my dad's a few years ago bought this drone, and it's a really good one, really good quality.
That's so
And
good.
at first, I was thinking of just him taking photos of me from above, just sort of laying in my garden or something, um, in the clothes. And that was my first sort of idea, just because it was something different, and I knew that it was to kind of make me stand out. But I was talking to my dad about the idea, and he said, "Nah, it's a naff idea. Why do we not just do a little video?" And I first thought, I really can't be bothered to, you know, it's locked down. Like, I'm not sure if people would appreciate me walking through fields in these dresses. But um, yeah, we sort of just went one day and just did a few shots, and I really liked how it kind of came to life, especially in the wind. I thought, because initially we did one in a field, and we did get told off by the field owner. He came over saying, you know, this is private land, and my dad sort of said, oh, I'm so sorry, like, my daughter's fashion designer and will only be 10 more minutes. And he wasn't that happy. But it was just a really like nice thing for us to, it was kind of a mini project for him as well in lockdown. So yeah, I mean, I didn't have any expectations of it, but I was so happy with the result. It took quite a few days to get all the shots, and luckily enough the weather was amazing, so it worked out well. But we did get some funny looks, that's for sure, because it's so loud, the drone. It's like,
Exactly.
oh, and people would be like walking by and cycling in their cars, and there'd just be me like in these white PVC boots, and this loud like robot above us. But yeah, it was fun. And my tutors at the time were a little bit. They thought the video was cool, but it kind of, because my whole thing is ice, and um, it kind of alludes to the colder temperatures. And then there's me in like a in bright yellow summertime
Mhm.
field. I know my tutor. I was going to put it up on my like uni portfolio. My tutor said don't put it up because it kind of contradicts your research. That it's a lovely piece on its own, but it should be like an extra, like a added project rather than
The final thing.
to do with your collection, which I kind of get. But I do love the video, and I've had lots of compliments on it. So
Yeah, it looked amazing.
I'll just have to do another one like in the mountains or something.
Have
In
you
the snow.
submitted? Have you
Sorry.
have you finished? Have you submitted everything though?
Yeah, yeah. We've been done ages. I think end of May was our
Oh,
hand in.
wow.
Haven't had our results yet. Still waiting on that, but yeah, we're all done. So it feels weird. It hasn't really sunk in yet.
I'm sure you'll do really great. I think the video was amazing. And I think like it's so interesting how everybody kind of just tried to find a way to, develop like high quality work during when they're about to submit for like their final project, and
Yeah.
using technology, which is something that like is in conversation right now. Kind of so many jobs are gonna get I don't know, be replaced with robots and stuff like that. So it's very interesting that in quarantine and you were very resourceful and you used a drone to, be able to film this of yourself and take the like shots of it. And
Mhm.
no, it was really, really cool to see.
Thank you.
Um, and how was the experience of it? I mean, were you the one like controlling the drone, or was it your dad?
That was my dad. He's quite. I mean, he hasn't used it a whole bunch, but it did take a while. There was lots of outtakes where either the drone was in shot or you could see my parents like in the field with me. Like it did take quite a while to get the
Angles.
right angles. Yeah. But he did an amazing job. I sort of would say, oh, I want like a close up and then it sort of flying off, or a
Okay.
360 view, or me running. So he kind of did take some sort of direction, but it was mainly on him to sort of come up, just make the clothes look good. That was the aim. But yeah, he did most of the work, I must say. Very lucky.
That's cool. Do you think that this is something like, I mean, say like designers now can, take this as an initiative and just teach themselves how to use a drone and just start filming their collections? And do you think that's something that you would actually try and do again? I mean, you controlling the drone yourself and filming yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to do it again. I think it is quite complex to, especially the one he's got. I mean, it's got so many features on it. I mean, I feel like we've only touched the surface. You can do these weird, I think it's called asteroids, where it kind of flies around you and then suddenly flies off super quick. Um, there's so many features like that that we haven't really tried yet. And we live near an RAF camp, so we actually can't fly it anywhere near my garden, which is actually
Okay.
one of the reasons why we didn't do the idea in the garden of him taking photos, because it doesn't take off. And we're close to Chequers as well, where the Prime Minister is at the moment.
Oh, okay.
So you're not allowed. So we had to go a little bit further away out of the boundaries so it would take off. Um, but I would say anyone to try it. I mean, it's such a unique kind of thing, and I think clothes always look better in movement anyway.
Definitely.
Well, not all clothes, but mine especially, because they're quite floaty, and I think it's nice to kind of get a 360 view and also um, in motion.
Yeah, definitely.
But everyone should try it if they can get their hands on a drone. Why not?
Yeah, I think it could be the future of it. I think that definitely it's very different having, say, a filmmaker, a photographer like taking this there is
Mm.
that like the uniqueness of the human eye, that we have like a perception of things very differently, but it is something that is being questioned, whether, you know, we can just lead up to just using, you know, drones or, you know, robots to do
Yeah.
these things for us. So
I
yeah.
think putting it all together is something that maybe a robot would struggle with. I think capturing the footage is one thing, but then sort of getting it to the music and fading in and out to the right bits, that's kind of something that I like to think they need us humans for. But
Yeah,
who knows?
definitely. Like the creativeness and the passion of it, like
Yeah,
understanding your collection and kind of what you want, definitely is something that I think
yeah.
only us humans can do that without the
Hopefully, hopefully.
yeah.
But I don't see robots like making clothes.
No.
Not I mean certain clothes maybe, but they don't have the creative, mind like we do. So that's one thing that hopefully they won't put us out of our jobs too
Yeah.
soon.
Definitely. I mean, there is that conversation of being able to file like clothing and just like have it 3D printed in the future at your own, at like the convenience of your home. And yeah. So what do you think about that? You think that's just it's
It
not going to
seems so
execute it
weird.
well?
Yeah, it seems so weird to me.
Sorry.
I mean, I'm I'm okay with technology, but I'm not like a tech savvy person really.
Yeah.
So the whole 3D printing and it's I have no idea. I mean, I don't know enough about it. I mean, it would be quite handy, I guess, if you could kind of design your own thing and then it's there. But I don't know, most people wouldn't know what they want until they see a picture of it. So they'll kind of, I guess if it's sustainable and it's not, there's no factories working in India or somewhere with horrible conditions and bad pay, then it's got to be better than that. But I don't know. I haven't really considered it. I'm not I'm still waiting to make my decision on that one. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if I would use it, but I'm sure lots of people would.
It's a very complex and big topic, and we could go on hours talking about it. I think that, like you said, it would avoid having people working long hours with low pay. But then again, on the other side, it would then, you know, impede them from having a job at all. So
Exactly.
it's
True.
there's a good and a bad to both sides of the spectrum. But
Mm.
and one of our last questions was, how do you think that you as a designer moving forwards, if you do take on like creating your own brand, um, how will you ensure that your customers or your audience that you're trying to target will act sustainable with the designs that you have and be ethical as possible?
Um, well, I think it does need to start with the big brands before it can sort of feed from sort of the small designers like myself. I think I saw something on Instagram about a label. I'm not sure what brand it was that sort of has all the different costs um, from the design to the manufacture to the packaging to everything that's involved with making a top, let's say, or a dress, and all the labor, how many hours it takes to do everything, and then like a total price. I
Yeah.
think is a good way of um, opening people's eyes to, a dress that they can get, let's say, for £50 from a up and coming designer, or one they can get for £14 on Boohoo, that looks exactly the same. I mean, how are Boohoo sort of selling a garment that cheap with all these costs in place? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just barbaric.
very
And
crazy.
I think I think all brands should have labels which clearly say where they're made and everything that goes into it. So I think people just don't know, and people that unfortunately aren't on Instagram, seeing all these boycott, boohoo tags, that do just want something, and they'll do a quick Google and it will pop up on, you know, these cheap websites, and they'll just buy it because they don't know. Um, so I think that's the first place to start. And then I think in terms of, for me, I'm really going to try and, with my like Instagram, for example, show more of the process and do kind of process videos of, from start to finish, sort of the old jeans that I'm cutting up to make a denim dress, for example. Just documenting the whole thing so people can kind of feel involved with the process, and then when they, if they do decide to buy something, they know the hard work that's gone into it.
Definitely.
I'm going to start and try and do that a bit more. I mean, I did do a bit of process sort of stuff during lockdown, but it's hard to sort of film yourself making stuff. You almost have to like tape your phone to the wall or something. But yeah, I think that's what I'm going to try and do. And just people that do buy, because I'm selling like little dresses at the moment, summer dresses, people that have bought one, they, you know, I have a discussion with them about the fact that these are old clothes that I've cut up, and a lot of the dresses are one of a kind because they're an old summer dress that I obviously can't get anymore, got it from a charity shop or whatever. So I think just having an open dialogue with consumers about it is got to be positive.
That's very good. Yeah, definitely. And I hope that once we share this interview with everyone, they can understand your brand better and the mission behind it.
You too.
No
Thanks so much.
worries. No worries. Bye.